inherently thrives with diversity, from languages, geography, ethnicities and religion. So one would assume that diversity and inclusion in the workplace should come naturally. Unfortunately, it is not so. The wide economics divide, socio-cultural factors such as caste, patriarchy, creates intersectional complexities which are very unique to India. Hello and welcome to NASSCOM Insights. I am Achyuta Ghosh and I want to talk to you about NASSCOM's latest research on the state of diversity, equity and inclusion in Indian enterprises, done in partnership with Aon. This nasscom-Aon study is one of the most extensive researches undertaken on the topic, with over 220 participating organizations across 14 industries in the country. It provides 1. A DEI assessment framework for organizations, 2. An organization scorecard that highlights the state of DE&I in India, and 3. A strong best practices perspective along with culminating with the DEI Champion Awards, which recognizes organizations in India that have demonstrated exceptional commitment and progress towards DE&I in the workplace. While the list of award winners are available in the NASSCOM website, today we will highlight some of the key findings from the report, the DEI landscape in India, bridging the gap between rhetoric and reality. And for that, I would like to invite my colleague and lead analyst for the report, Prerna. Okay, to get started, Prerna, could you just share a brief understanding of what is diversity, equity, inclusion and belongingness? Is it different? Because people tend to interchange these words.
Right. No, very right. So it's very important to understand the fine nuances between all these four concepts. And to begin with, if we talk about diversity, it is quintessentially the wide range of differences among individuals. It embraces people belonging to different ages, genders, races, ethnicities, sexual orientations, visible and invisible disabilities, as well as backgrounds and so on. If we talk about equity, it refers to the provision of fair treatment to all. So it acknowledges that not everyone has the same starting point, and hence it is important to eliminate inequities and biases to create a level playing field for one and all. Inclusion is the extent to which individuals feel they are welcomed and supported in the organizations along with their diverse characteristics. And belongingness refers to the sense of feeling valued, respected and being a part of something bigger. So organizations need to encourage efforts that create belongingness to allow diverse employees to bring their whole authentic selves to work. So belongingness is essentially the critical thread that binds diversity, equity and inclusion together.
Wonderful. And could you share some light on what are some of the critical factors that are driving a paradigm shift in DE&I from nice to have social initiative to a must have business imperative?
Correct. So some key drivers that are catalyzing the transition in DE&I from a good to have initiative to a must have business component would be firstly formalization of the DE&I policy, budgeting for it and embedding it in the organization's culture and values. So nearly 80% organizations report that they already have a formal DE&I policy in place, and 82% have formal DE&I targets, while 72% have a dedicated budget for it. Second driver would be leadership buy-in, which is salient for DE&I's success. Also, we see that leaders today are well-intentioned and committed to DE&I. So, 73% organizations report that the DE&I agenda is driven by CEO and business leaders, and 49% establish DE&I metrics as part of the executive scorecards. Thirdly, progress of DE&I practices should be based on actionable outcomes that can be assessed, measured, tracked, monitored and course corrected regularly. In this aspect, 83% organizations track DE&I metrics, of which only 30% are reporting it publicly currently. 37% have linked attainment of DE&I goals to executives' pay, and 86% have a grievance redressal system in place. And the final driver would be that it is important to observe diversity, equity and inclusion along with belongingness as being equally critical. So 85% organizations today track employee demographics, and 83 and 71% of those are actually tracking diverse representation at the C-suite and board level respectively. 94% indicate offering equal access to career growth opportunities, while 72% report having formalized mentorship programs. Moreover, 67% organizations have ERGs and networking groups in place. So all of this corroborates the building of an inclusive culture in an organization.
Thanks, Prerna. And those numbers actually show that there's a long way for us to really go on this path. Can you delineate some of the key best practices that organizations can embrace for various diversity types?
Right. So essentially, there are some practices that are hygiene, and those are must-have for organizations, while certain others that are mature and differentiated, which organizations adopt to become champions in this space, essentially. So if we talk about gender diversity, for example, 98% organizations are tracking gender diversity, which is higher than all other diversity types. Some key foundational best practices here would be inculcating gender agnostic roles and job descriptions, enabling talent development through mentoring, sponsorship, career development and so on, and enabling career restart programs through comprehensive returnship programs, etc. While some differentiated practices would include inclusion of DE&I metrics in top management scorecards, creating accountability and so on. If we talk about PwDs, then 61% organizations track PwD diversity, and here some foundational best practices would be like talent sourcing through job fairs, internship programs, NGOs, etc., accessibility to premises for PwDs, as well as establishing reasonable accommodation for them in terms of desk modification, backrest for chair, footrest, and retrofittings, etc. Differentiated practices would include focused hiring for people with autism and other neurodiverse spectrums and so on. Now for the LGBTQIA+ community, 40% organizations track this diversity type, and some foundational best practices here would include spreading awareness, acceptance and sensitization through training and programs, and establishing gender neutral infrastructure such as washrooms, etc. While differentiated best practices would entail initiatives that enable organizations to create a safe space for them to come out and self-declare, and also extended counseling and support to families of LGBTQIA+ community.
Very insightful, Prerna. Just to end this, what are key recommendations that organizations can adopt so that they can accelerate or establish their DEI journey?
Certainly. So, some key recommendations for enterprises to progress on their DE&I journey, which are also outlined in our report, are as follows. So firstly, like I said earlier, also leadership commitment is an absolute essential. It is a key component and it has to be a part of the business strategy. DE&I initiatives should be actively championed by CXOs and business leaders and board members. It is also necessary to make all efforts to mitigate biases at a systemic level. So, organizations should establish practices for mitigating conscious as well as unconscious biases proactively through training, sensitization workshops, setting up ERGs, mentorship and allyship programs, as well as driving pay equity and leveraging technologies such as AI in 360 degrees and multi-source feedbacks to eliminate or as well as reduce biases in processes. Thirdly, organizations also need to adopt a laser-focused approach to tracking data and metrics. It is critical to measure, track and monitor diversity, equity and inclusion as practices by leveraging data as well as technology. And the final recommendation from our end would be to intentionally drive a DE&I culture by establishing a structured process to drive a fundamental mindset and cultural shift towards DE&I, as well as moving simply beyond, tracking numbers and adopting a tokenistic approach.
Thanks, Prerna, for all these insights. Viewers, the report download link is in the description box below. Also, please note that this report is a free publication. Thank you. While the study brought up several areas of improvement, it also put the spotlight on leading practices by organizations to drive real change. From making simple but relevant policy changes to finding ways to break the bias and advance inclusion through technology and demonstrating high leadership accountability, organizations in India are setting new benchmarks. However, corporate India has a long way to go in building a truly inclusive organizational culture and supporting marginalized and underprivileged communities in their pursuit of an equitable society. The need of the hour is a commitment to depth. Organizations that listen to the challenges of their employees, design DEI programs that improve the daily interactions and touch points across the life cycle, and drive bold accountability and transparency will lead the way. It is time to walk the talk about DEI. Viewers, the report download link is in the description box below. Also, please note that this report is a free publication. At NASSCOM Insights, we cover everything related to Indian tech, so keep checking back. Please subscribe, like, and click the bell icon to be notified as soon as new and exciting videos are uploaded to the NASSCOM Insights channel. And I look forward to your comments on the video. Thank you and stay safe.